What's going on, everybody? Paul Tech here, and welcome to my 2-week full review of the LG Aristo 2 for Metro PCS. Now, you can pick this device up right now for $59, or you can get it for free on a port over special. So keep in mind, this is a very affordable device. Take a look at the right-hand side, you have nothing at all. And taking a look at the bottom of the Aristo 2, you got your microphone, micro USB charging, and a 3.5mm headphone jack. And to the left-hand side, you do have your volume rockers there, and they're nice and easy to reach. Really good placement, and they don't feel loose or anything like that. Up on top, you do have a noise cancellation mic. And to the back of the Aristo 2, you're getting a 13-megapixel camera. I like how it is nice and flush to the back. You're also getting your LED flash and what appears to be a fingerprint sensor. It is not. It is just a power button. You get this glossy reflective back cover finish, as well as your LG branding and a backfiring speaker. So the Aristo 2 is a pretty compact device. It comes in at about 4.9 ounces. It's very pocket friendly. I haven't used a case on this in the past 2 weeks, but I got to tell you, this is a very slippery device, especially with these glossy back covers. So if you're going to pick this up, definitely pick up a case for it. This is an all plastic built device, so that means the back is removable, which is great in my opinion, because you can actually swap out that 2,410 milliamp hour battery, buy extras. And you also, by removing the back cover, get access to your nano SIM, and you can also input a micro SD card for expandable storage. Now, my time of using this in the past 2 weeks, 4G LTE has actually been great. I've had about 4 to 5 bars consistently in the Northern California area, so good 4G LTE connectivity. When it comes to connecting to Wi-Fi at home, at work, I had no issues there, and this can connect to the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi as well. When it came to phone calls were actually pretty good on the Aristo 2. I had no issues there either, no drop calls. Caller said I sounded perfectly fine. And then moving on to keyboard sensitivity, this was another area where the Aristo 2 does good. I mean, when it comes to phone calls, messages, connecting to Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, no issues there whatsoever. As you can see, those are the different emojis that are on the stock keyboard on the Aristo 2. Now, you also got some other features here. If you go into the settings of the keyboard application, you can also adjust the keyboard height. So this can be very handy depending if you have large hands, you can stretch the keyboard. If you have smaller hands, you can shrink the keyboard down. So that is a nice feature, and you know, most LG devices have that option, but I just wanted to share that it is available. And you'll also have a one-handed mode for the keyboard. So as you can see, you can either have it to the left or to the right hand side, but text messages, emails, everything was good with the Aristo 2. And moving on to the display now. So you're getting that 5-inch HD in-cell touch display, 720 by 1280 resolution, has about 295 pixels per inch. And I gotta say, you know, it's a decent looking 720p panel. Now there's no front LED notification light on this, but you can use flash alerts for notifications. And you also have what is called Panda King Glass, and it's a Gorilla Glass alternative. So that is the protection you are getting to the front display. If you want to know more about that, I'll drop a link in the description below of an article about Panda King Glass. Now, outdoor visibility in direct sunlight is decent. You got auto brightness on this, and the display will pretty much crank itself up to 100%, and you will get some decent outdoor visibility. Moving on and just talking about the overall user experience for me in the past 2 weeks, I gotta say the Aristo 2 was actually a pretty reliable smartphone. You got a lot of good features that are baked into the Aristo 2 here. For instance, if you just slide to the left, you can get straight into your Google feed, which I personally like that. You can either disable that or you can have that. Jumping into the app drawer, you have the option to enable an app drawer, or you can have no app drawer. It's entirely up to you. You have FM radio that's baked into this, so you can just basically plug in, you know, a pair of headphones into the 3.5mm headphone jack, and then you can basically have FM radio. You even have an option here in the app drawer where you can hide pretty much each and every application you have on the Aristo 2. Another feature that I did notice, if you long press on the applications, it does give you these floating suggestions. So as you can see there, new message. If you long press on the camera, you can go into auto camera or selfie camera. Same thing with Twitter here. If you long press on it, it gives you these 4 different options. So pretty cool. You also have smart cleaning here, which does help optimize your LG Aristo. So I would recommend just do this every so often, and it just helps with overall performance. And you have this other feature on the Aristo 2. So if you just swipe down on the display, anywhere on the display, it's going to bring up your personal conversations, a previous website you've been on, your top contacts, and it's almost like a hidden menu, and pretty much wherever you are on your display, just swipe down and you can get access to this. So again, you got some pretty good stuff baked into this. So what is powering, what's under the hood of the Aristo 2? It is a 1.4 gigahertz quad-core processor, the Qualcomm Snapdragon 425, Adreno 308, and when it comes to these sensors here, you are getting a wide variety of sensors on the Aristo 2. And as you can see, those are all the different sensors it has, but most importantly, this does have the gyroscope, the gyro sensor, so VR and 360 videos will be possible on the Aristo 2. Now, an area I do want to talk about in this review is RAM management. So I did say earlier that this was a pretty reliable smartphone for me in the past 2 weeks. I mean, phone calls, text messages, you're going to be able to Google search, jump to Facebook and Twitter, but at the same time, you got to keep in mind this only has 2 gigs of RAM. And with 2 gigs of RAM, devices, you definitely want to keep the background apps down to a minimum for best overall performance, because once you get 15-20 apps open in the background, you're going to see that slow down and stutter. I mean, you're still going to be able to multitask. You can still have, you know, the split screen option like you see here, but it doesn't matter what device you buy, the Stylo 3 Plus, the Blade Z Max. If you got 2 gigs of RAM, you got to clear the cache. You got to keep the background apps down to a minimum for just overall performance. So if you buy this device, just keep that in mind, so you don't get that slowdown and stutter. Now, when it comes to watching YouTube videos, you know, the viewing angles are decent on the Aristo 2. You know, it is a 720p panel, but like I said, it's not a bad 720p panel. And the highest quality you are going to be able to watch YouTube videos is going to be at 720p at 60 frames per second. Now, if you're coming from another LG device, when you pull down the status bar, it's going to look very familiar. You got Capture Plus, Wi-Fi, your sound option, Do Not Disturb, Data Saver. So you got all that just right there. Jumping into settings, I'll kind of go through this a little bit here just to share with you what you do have. So if you pretty much slide to the side right there, you can get quick access to pretty much everything you have within settings. Connecting this, like I said earlier, to Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, there was no issues there whatsoever. And then I'll go ahead and share with you also that this does have the mobile hotspot. So the mobile hotspot actually works really well. I got the $60 plan, and I've been using the mobile hotspot with no issues there. And then jumping into display here, the option to change the font type, the font size. It can change the display size. You got comfort view, which does reduce eye strain. And then if you're coming from, like I said, another LG device, you can still have the option to change the button combination. So the on-screen buttons, you can pretty much arrange them to however you like to the bottom there. And then one that is really good and can find it very useful is if you have smaller hands, it's kind of hard to reach the top status bar, you can just add that button there and it'll pull down the status bar for you. Now you can also change the color of the on-screen buttons, and this is pretty much new here where you can hide the home touch button. So you can pretty much select whatever application you want, and you can hide the on-screen button. So that's actually a pretty cool feature. And I want to talk a little bit about the face recognition, because I know that is a big selling point about the LG Aristo 2. So you do have ways of improving the face recognition. For me, I actually like this feature, and it actually worked really well. I would say it worked about 95% of the time. You even have advanced face recognition, which makes it harder to unlock it with an image or video. But yeah, you know, my experience using the facial recognition, it worked pretty much, like I said, 95% of the time. The only time I really didn't see that it was working that well was in low light or in dark conditions. But for the most part, you know, it's a good feature. I like it. I don't really see it as a gimmick. You also have the option to use pattern pin or password if you don't want to use the face recognition. But when it comes to internal storage, you are getting 16 gigabytes of internal storage, which is expandable. Like I said earlier, you can pretty much remove the back cover, input an SD card, but the only problem is you cannot use the SD card as internal storage or adaptable storage. You can only use it as portable storage, so just kind of keep that in mind before you purchase the Aristo 2. The Aristo 2 does have December 1st, 2017 security patch, as well as 7.1.2 Nougat, so everything's looking pretty good there. Hopefully we will get more future updates on this device. And moving on from there, let's just talk a little bit about this backfiring speaker. So first of all, it's not the best placement on any smartphone, a speaker to the back. It can easily get covered up, like my hand is covering it up right now. And when you do have the audio on max, it does sound kind of tinny as well. So, but here is, you know, some sample audio coming from the LG Aristo 2 back speaker there. And moving on to the camera section of the review. So you're getting that rear 13 megapixel PDAF camera with a single LED flash. Now the PDAF stands for phase detection autofocus. The autofocus actually works fairly well. You have an option there to adjust brightness, and you also have manual focus on the Aristo 2. So I actually like those two features that are just baked right into the camera interface there. And then, the touch to focus works pretty good. And the shutter speed is, about average for a device in this price range. You also got 4x digital zoom as well. So you can pretty much see the type of quality that can be expected if you are in that 4x digital zoom. I'll go ahead and zoom back out. You also got HDR on this. If you hold down the shutter button, you can get into the burst shot mode as well. You got the quick share option there, so you can access, different platforms, different social media sites, Facebook, Twitter, share the photos just like that. You got all your controls off to the corner there, as well as these different filters to choose from. So, you can have a little bit more fun while taking photos and videos. Jumping into settings here, the highest resolution you are going to be able to record in is going to be 1080p resolution. Got HDR on this, timer, cheese shutter, and when it comes to video recording, you can pause and resume. You can take a photo while recording, but I noticed there's no type of OIS or electronic image stabilization, so you definitely want to have a steady hand while you are recording videos. Moving to the 5 megapixel front-facing camera, shutter speed is about average. You got your filters there. You also got your quick share option. Now you do have what is like a flash option, but basically if you use it, it just illuminates the display so you can take some low light selfies. You even have the option for a gesture shot, so you can take a selfie with the hand gesture as well. But the camera is going to do great when you are in outdoors like I am now, in good lighting situations, but when you go into low light or dark environments, things can get kind of grainy, kind of noisy. But here are some photos, some sample photos shot on the LG Aristo 2. So I did run the Geekbench 4 test, and I got single core score 664, multi-core score 1,866. When it comes to the Antutu benchmark test, I did get a score of 27,333, and all those numbers are to be expected on a device in this price range. And moving on to gameplay, I was actually pretty surprised on just how well the LG Aristo 2 can perform. I downloaded a variety of different games, everything from like Temple Run, Subway Surfers. Now the light casual type of games are going to run like a breeze on the LG Aristo 2. There's really no issue there. Now when you go into the higher frame rate graphic intense games, you will notice maybe a little bit of stutter and a little bit of drops in frames, but it's really not a huge issue because you actually have an option underneath the settings where you can pretty much adjust the frame rate. So if you are noticing that it is getting a little choppy, it is dropping frames, you can pretty much use the game controls here. So as you can see, you got one option to take a break, take a screenshot, and adjust the game graphics. So you can pretty much put the frame rate to low, you can keep it as normal, or you can put it to high. So gameplay really shouldn't be an issue on the LG Aristo 2. Moving on to GPS, in my 2 weeks of using the LG Aristo 2, GPS ran great. I didn't have any problems. I was able to get to my destination. I didn't lose my location whatsoever. So I think you should be pretty good if you are going to be using the LG Aristo 2 on GPS. Now when it comes to battery life, you are getting that 2,410 milliamp hour removable battery, and battery life is actually pretty good on the Aristo 2. Now it's not a power hungry type of smartphone, and it's optimized very well, so your usage and screen on time is going to vary. But for me, depending on what battery saver mode I was using, if I didn't use any, I got about 3.5 hours of screen on time. If I use the extended, I got about 5.5 hours. But again, it just depends on applications you have, your signal, and just how you use your smartphone. But I think battery life is going to be good for you on the LG Aristo 2. But that's pretty much it for my full review of the LG Aristo 2 for Metro PCS. Again, you can pick this up for about 60 bucks right now on an instant rebate, or you can get it for free when you port over to Metro PCS. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this. Again, I love making these reviews, just kind of sharing my experience, and maybe you're watching this, doing your research, doing your homework if this is the device for you. And hopefully this video did help you out and give you some insight if this is the phone for you, or maybe it's not, you should go with something else. If you enjoyed the review, please hit that thumbs up button, and please subscribe to the channel for more future videos. This is Paul Tech, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.